Shalom, all praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakha Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and shalom to the hopeful elect Akim that teaching this word. Shalom Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakha Kodash. Now, as you can see here, this is a video that went viral. It's all over the social media, but it's basically a man in China that's basically, you can see the dark melanin in his flesh. He's a dark brown man in China. Now, I'm not saying he's an Israelite. I'm not saying he's a Jake, but he very well could be, because we know that our people are scattered all throughout the planet Earth, right? So anyway, I've seen this video posted also on Instagram and different social media outlets, and there's like people tripping at the fact that you got like black Chinese basically. I saw it, and people were commenting, the original Chinese were people of color, and you'd see other people trying to debate that. No, how could that be? Chinese have always been white looking, so to speak, because the world's ruled by Esau at the moment, and pretty much everyone worships the Edomites, right? So anyway, pretty much, it's just, I want to play this clip here, and it just shows you that all nations had melanin, still do have melanin. All the nations have melanin, but the whitening came with what? Esau's conquering the Edomites, which are the so-called white man. When he conquered the nations and conquered people, he spread his seed. That's why the Chinese look the way they look today, pale in complexion, pale in flesh. The same thing with the Arabs. Now, even the Arabs, they're a mixture, because that word means mixture. But you got like North Africans, for example. A lot of them look pale in flesh. That's due to the conquering of the Greeks and the Ottoman Empire, which was nothing but so-called white men. All right. So you still got this in China, but this is not what they're not going to show you this on mainstream media. You have dark-skinned Chinese people. Okay, just look at the old black and white footage of China, and what you're going to see there, you're going to see dark-skinned Chinese people, which are the nation of Moab in the scriptures. It exists, and this man's proof of that. So this went viral, and it was like tripping people out, man, because Western media will not show you images like this. Okay, so let me play this here. There's actually a video of him speaking. Let me play it when you see the video of him speaking. Yeah, so this is actually him. This is the video of that video when he's on the table. There's actually a video of him speaking on that table. It's all over the social media, but I'll play this here. And someone said, you can see the comment on the top, on the left there, it says some Chinese people claiming he's not black. Yeah, because it caused a bit of an uproar on the social media. People were saying there's no way he's black and things of that nature. But there is, because all people, before Esau's intermingling with the nations and graping and robbing the nations, before Esau, okay, the so-called white man, all nations have melanin, which is the brown pigmentation. Look how dark this man is. You can clearly see this man basically looks like a so-called black man. Okay? Meaning he's got that dark brown melanin, man.
So the video you just watched is just part of the video sent to me by some Chinese, claiming that the guy is not a black Chinese, or Chinese are not originally black. But if you look at the video carefully, you will notice that the video explains itself. If you look at the video very carefully and critically, you will see that that guy is just black Chinese. For some reason, I don't know why Chinese people don't want to acknowledge blackness or black people.
The reason why they don't want to acknowledge it is because, like this man said, for some reason, it's got, because they're saying he's not black. There's no such thing as black Chinese, which there is. Even in the rural parts of China, some of them people still have that deep melanin. Like this man's an example of that. Now, obviously, these people, or the nations at the moment, are worshipping Esau Edom, which is a so-called white man. That's why, the pigmentation in the flesh in this world is hated. Why? Because of the imagery and, the dark nations in particular, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans being at the bottom. All right. So things have been turned upside down. So Esau hates Jake basically. He hates color in the flesh basically. All right. And the Chinese, they have that same colonial mindset because they've been conquered, man. They've been conquered. Let me read this here. This is Isaiah 29:16. Okay, it says, surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding? Yeah, so the things being turned upside down is basically what Esau Edom has done to the world. Who's Esau Edom? The so-called white man, all right, the Edomites. And what have they done to the world? They've turned things upside down. Anything biblical, they've flipped it. All right. For example, to be dark brown, to have the deep melanin dark brown is really righteous. Yahweh Shai himself, the tribe of Judah, which is so-called Negroes in America, are people of color. Yahweh Shai himself, our Lord and Savior, was what? He was a dark-skinned man, what they call today a dark-skinned Negro. Okay. All right. And then Esau flipped it in this world. And what does Esau exalt? Esau exalts biblical leprosy. He exalts, well, they're clean lepers. The Edomites, they're pale flesh. They're clean lepers. They have no pigment in their body. They've been stripped of that from the curse of Cain. But Esau exalts that look. But the main look he exalts is what? The blonde hair and the blue eyes. The yellow thin hair in the scriptures, which is blonde hair, is actually, it's a leprosy of the scalp. That's the worst form of hair you can have on your head, is blonde hair. Okay? That's the worst form of hair you can have on your head, is blonde hair, because it's a lack of pigmentation, and it's basically it's a leprosy of the hair, basically, the blonde hair. But that is what's exalted in this world. So that's the example. He's turning the things upside down. The righteous images, which is a people of color, so-called Negroes, we are at the bottom in his world, and he's exalted the complete opposite. And what's deemed as good in according to the Bible, the so-called white man deems it as bad. So what's good he puts as bad, and what's bad he puts as good. Okay. The LGBTQ community is a prime example of that. Okay. There's nothing righteous about homosexuality and lesbianism, but in this world, Esau puts it up as righteous. So that's what the scriptures is saying here. Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding? Okay? So these elites of the Edomites, they know, they are fully aware of what's good and what's not good, basically. They're fully aware of that. Okay? So like, yeah, they're fully aware of they're fully aware of the scriptures, pretty much. What's deemed as good and what you're meant to do and what you're not meant to do. They're aware of that, but they don't live by that. Okay? So those Chinese people was bugging out on the social media about the black Chinaman, because why? Because they worship the so-called white man. So of course they're gonna trip out. This is Genesis, and where does Esau's look? Esau, the so-called white man himself, the way these so-called white people look is a curse. Okay, it's a curse. It's a mark upon them, and it's a mark to prove who the wicked is on the planet Earth. All right, and that goes back to their forefather Cain. We all know the story of Cain and Abel. Well, it's all real. Cain and Abel. Okay, Abel being the righteous, and Cain being the wicked. What did Cain do unto his brother Abel? He slew him. He basically committed the act of murder, basically. Okay, and the scriptures, was completely against that. But that's what Cain did. It's for prophecy's sake, which is really Cain is the same spirit that these so-called white people have in them, and they have the spirit of Cain in them. They have the spirit of murderers in them, and that's the mark. The way they look is a mark upon them, so we can know who the wicked is in these days. All right, okay. So this is, and look, among so-called white people also, you are gonna have Israelites among them. You're gonna have our people, stuck in looking like them, basically. Okay. So this is Genesis 4:13. And Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and and shall and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. Yeah, because what did the Lord do to Cain? He stripped him of his pigment. And everyone on the earth at that time was a people of color. Cain was the first. See how the so-called white man looks today. Cain was the first person to have that look. And the rest of the earth was all brown-skinned people, ranging from a darker flesh to a lighter flesh of brown. Okay? So that was all the people on earth. So that's why Cain said that. Look, he said, wherever I go, basically, I'm going to be the oddball, basically. So I'm going to be odd looking, and everyone's going to try and mess me up, basically. That's why he's saying that. Okay? And deep down within these so-called white people, deep down in their spirit, they know the way they look is not right. That's why they're doing tanning salons. That's why they spend thousands of dollars and thousands of pounds to plump up their lips. You get these women, these white women, they do those BBLs, which is like to thicken up their ass. So because they know deep down within their spirit, the way they look is basically, it's off the way they look. They know it in their spirit. Okay? So it says, Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, Therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest anyone finding him should kill him. And that mark that was put upon Cain is the mark of leprosy. The way the so-called white man looks today is really a curse. The way these so-called white people look today is really a curse, all right? There's nothing good about looking like a so-called white man. In this world, they're in power, so their image has power. But the reality is, it's unrighteous to look like them. That is actually the reality. Okay? So numbers, but you see our people, you see a lot of our people, Negroes, Latinos, and Native American people obsessed with looking like white people, man. It's obsessed, bleaching it. Like it's a thing amongst the tribes, amongst the Southern Kingdom to do like bleaching of their flesh and stuff. In West Africa and the Caribbean islands, they bleach their skin, cake soap. So why do they do that? So they can look like so-called white people. They bleach up their flesh so they can look like Edomites, man. So let me read this here. Numbers 12 and 8. It's him. No, I'll start from... Okay, Lord, wherefore... Okay, Numbers 12 and 9. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. Yeah. What did the Lord do to Moses? What did the Lord do to Miriam? He stripped her of her pigment, man. Okay, she was a black woman. She was a so-called black woman. Okay, so-called, a brown-skinned woman. And he stripped her of her pigment because why? She talked up against Moses regarding the woman he was seeing. I believe he was seen like a heathen woman. So she talked up against him. So what did the Heavenly Father said, to basically punish her, he stripped her of her pigmentation. Okay? Leprosy. That's what the so-called white people today, when you see them walking around, they are clean lepers. Everybody on the earth, before the so-called white man conquered and raped, robbed and murdered the planet, all right, and sowed his seed, everybody was people of, people of color, basically. Every nation. The reason why you see amongst the Chinese, pale-looking Chinese, is because the so-called white man's seeds mingled among those people, man. Okay, the Lord had to give Esau his time to rule the world, man. And what did the Esau do? He spread that look he has all over the world, all right? Okay, even amongst the Latin-speaking tribes, some of our people have the look of a so-called white man, but they really are people. But they do, because of the mingling with the Edomites, with Columbus and the Spaniards mingling in amongst the tribes. So you have our people, they can pass for white, and some have more of the indigenous look. Okay, and that's what's happened all over the world. But anyway, it says here, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. Yeah, he stripped her of her pigment. It says, and Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not this sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly and wherein we have sinned. Yeah, so it was a sin. He said, he asked him, Lord, please, lay not this sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly. Let her not be as one dead. Yeah, because that's to look like he's basically saying, please, Lord, forgive her, basically. Because it's a sin to look like that. So they obviously were shocked at what Yahweh Bashem Yahushai did to Miriam. Okay, so it says, Aaron said unto it says, let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, when he cometh out of his mother's womb. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, heal her now, I beseech, O Lord, I beseech thee. Yeah, Lord, please forgive her. Forgive her, give her pigmentation back, basically. Okay, it says, let not her be as one dead, of whom the flesh is consumed, when he cometh out of his mother's womb. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, heal her now, O Lord, I beseech thee. And the Lord said unto Moses, if her father had but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed? Should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that let her be received. Yeah, so she had to be away from the camp, away from the peoples for 7 days. So then she will be healed, basically. But the Lord had her pigmentation stripped from her, man. Because when you're not supposed to be around people that lepers, basically, because that's what the so-called white man is. They are clean lepers, the Edomites. They lack pigmentation. It's been stripped from them. So this is no shock here, and that's all in the scriptures. And this is no shock here that you have a man that looks like that on the top of the screen in China, and that's all over the world, man. Okay, the reason why the nations all over the world have pale flesh, and not all nations have that, by the way, but a lot of people have the look of being pale based on the mixing of the Edomites, the so-called white man, going over there, conquering and spreading his seed. Okay, that's why. And obviously Esau's done a number on China, because a lot of them have that pale flesh, right? But you do still have people that look like this man here,
on black people, but they are claiming the guy have sunburn. But if
no,
you
he
search,
ain't got no. See, that's what, because that's them trying to deflect. No, this, you can clearly see he ain't sunburnt. You can clearly see that is his flesh. His pigmentation is dark, man. Is a dark brown. So with that, I'm going to say all praises unto Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and shalom to the hopeful elect. The hopeful elect teaching out there. Shalom, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Rakah Kodash, shalom Makim, shalom.